FA Cup this weekend, then, boys. Jeez, you said it was an upset this morning.
Maidstone
Really?
took down Ipswich. Yeah.
What was the score?
I don't know. 2-1. It was 2-1. Yeah,
Really?
Maidstone.
Maidstone at home?
I don't know where it was, a home or away, but the giant killer exists.
Wow. You wouldn't know where
Sixth
Maidstone is, would you, Mika?
I don't know.
No.
But I love a good upset, so all
Yeah.
for it,
Yeah. Tony, hey, could you move the mic a little closer to your mouth there?
Yeah,
if you
man.
wouldn't mind. Yeah. So you don't know where Maidstone is, Mika?
Not really, no.
The southern part of England, I think. I'm pretty sure it is. So the FA Cup equivalent in Germany. You have a
DFB Pokal, yeah.
yeah, with
Yeah.
everybody in the
Everybody
in
in it,
the
big
country
upsets.
league, minnows, big guns,
Yeah.
just battle it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what Bayern Munich got upset this year, too.
Oh, we did.
With yeah.
Oh, yeah, we've got a German and an Englishman with us today here as well. So relevant news: Jurgen Klopp. I'm a Liverpool fan. Very sad news. Watched it yesterday. I must admit, even a man of my age, I was a little choked up listening to that. The 25-minute interview with everything. Such a great guy. You feel like you'd know him even though you've never met him. We've seen him here a couple of times in Charlotte. As a German, what are you thinking?
I mean, my whole family, big Borussia Dortmund fans. Ever since I was a kid, always went to the stadium in Dortmund, Yellow Wall, and obviously saw Jurgen Klopp a lot of times. Also, life and his passion is just know what kind of got into me too. And if you love the sport, if you love soccer, you have to love him too. So
I think so. Even our friend here beside you, the Toon Army, the Geordie lad, would have to say that, Tony.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Klopp. I'm a massive fan.
Yeah.
Huge fan of Klopp.
Yeah. So sad day, but I think we can all understand that the energy you can see that he puts into this thing
yeah, he deserves a break.
for 24 years, whatever it is now. He's 8 at Liverpool, turned him around.
He's been building that mansion in Marbella, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So he's probably going to spend his year in Marbella. He built a house in Marbella the last couple of years.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good source from the inside of Liverpool told me
Well,
that.
maybe Alvin's own pet were over there doing it. You know what I mean? Put
Oz
your
and
mic
Jimmy.
up a little closer, Mika,
Yeah.
would you?
Yeah.
And then Tottenham last night. Man City, first time Man City scored at Tottenham, I think in about 9 or 10 games. Won it since the new stadium. I watched it a little bit uneventful at times.
5 times of training for Pep.
Yeah.
For trying, sorry. Yeah, and he got it.
Well, anyway, I tell you what, let's get away with the idle chit-chat. Here we are again, introducing on the Verbally Committed podcast, Verbally Committed FC, Footy Chat, with myself, Steve Gummer. We have, as you can see today, guys, we have the University of South Carolina represented here, the Gamecocks, kind of under some new leadership in the last 3 or 4 years, Tony Annan, or as sometimes Tony Annan, as many people say. I know you as Tony Annan, known you for many, many years. Yes. Welcome to the podcast, and great to see you, mate.
Thanks for having us on.
Good.
Happy to help.
Good. We've got Mika Habel, our German friend, kind of homegrown Charlotte player, played at Charlotte Soccer Academy, went back to Germany after COVID. Mum and Dad lived in Spartanburg. Dad worked for BMW, represented Germany very well, went back overseas, and then funny how soccer is a small world, and you're back now in Colombia playing for Tony with the Gamecocks. Welcome to you.
Newly appointed captain of the team too.
He's been appointed the captain of the team.
Yes,
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you must be doing something, right? I know you had a slight injury in the fall. We come down and watch you play a few times. Tell us about the injury. How you getting on? You going to be back fit soon enough?
Yeah, I definitely will be. It's a little core muscle injury. Nothing too bad. Got it fixed up in Philly, so hopefully.
I heard you made the flight up there to the top surgeons in the country.
Yeah, it was nice.
Big budget. Most people go to Colorado for the main guy out there, I think. But you're up there, so we're glad to see you're back. Obviously, for those listening, great addition to South Carolina. We know that because I had the pleasure to work with you for a couple of years here in Charlotte, and then some time in the summer with the Charlottetown Hops, that you represented rather well.
Good time.
We'll look forward to maybe that in the summer. Who knows? That we won't talk about that now. Carolina's got a.
He's not liking the sound of that, so take it easy.
Got a big season coming up with the preseason. So Tony, tell us about it. How's it looking for the preseason this fall? You're going into your 4th year at the helm there. Obviously followed Mark Burson, who had a great record over the years that he was there, 43 years. So coming into a new program like that, 4th year this time. What have you learned from college soccer in your first few seasons here?
What have I learnt? I had a steep learning curve, to be honest, because I didn't expect it to be what it was. Honestly, it's been a real challenge, but a good one, right? A one that I've really embraced. It's obviously the job that I accepted is now changed with a lot of different things that have happened over the last couple of years in college sports. So it's still football at the end of the day. It's still, getting a team together, putting a team together, getting the culture right, getting it up and down the field. But there's a lot of other things that go into it now in college sports.
Yeah, so your administration department, rules, regulations, we all know. Every coach, for those people listening, parents or anything like that, new coaches come into a program, an NCAA is governed with lots of rules, regulation, recruiting rules, everything on rules on when you can train, when you can't train, hours of training, limited hours in the spring, how many games you can play. We all know about the college season. It's predominantly in the fall. There's been a lot of chitter-chatter over many years, trying to turn it into more of an 8, 9, 10-month program. So a little bit different from yourself, obviously. Atlanta for many, many years in the youth game, started the Atlanta United Academy, professional academy there, done a little bit of a stint with the USL Championship team. Differences in between the two?
I think you hit the nail on the head, really. The rules and regulations are a real one to get your head around. I think that is the biggest thing, is how much you're limited, or, the rules that you have to abide to in recruitment, times you can go, times you can't go, administration rules that are not just NCAA but your university. So there's a lot of, I wouldn't call them hurdles to get over or to get around. I would just call them, it's a different experience of being a head coach. Where at the pro club, all you're really, really held accountable to is development of players and making sure the players are going through the system and trying to produce professional players.
Yeah.
Where in college it's about development. It is.
And it's about their education, right?
And,
Mika's here from Germany.
Yep.
He wants to get an education as well, but he wants to play high-level soccer in a good conference.
We've done very well in the education department. We've got the highest GPA in the country out of all soccer programs. So that accountability on the field is now pouring into the classroom, we hope. And we hold a high standard. So it's different. You wear many hats as a college coach. I think you have to work in many departments, and you have to kind of co-mingle with a lot of departments as well. But I think, again, it's a challenge. It's different. It's something I wanted in my career, something I wanted to do. And it's been really interesting. I've been there 2.5 years, but this will be the 4th season coming up. So,
right.
Because I walked in at the beginning of the first season in the June, and we started in August. So.
Yeah, and obviously it takes time to evaluate players, to kind of then go through the process. Mika, you were played in Germany, came to the States 2 or 3 years in the old DA, for us at Charlotte Soccer Academy. Went to a lot of showcases where at that time Tony would have been with Atlanta United, those kind of things. Great memory of you. One time we got goal we scored against FC Cincinnati, 30 yards out.
That was a nice
top
one,
corner. Well, it was a good one, wasn't it? You know what I mean? So obviously that sparked a lot of interest for you at that point. I think you were maybe U16 at that point. COVID happens. You have to go back to Germany. You go back to your old kind of professional club in their youth academy. How was that transition from Germany to the US, then US back again? How did you handle that?
So coming from Germany to the U.S., especially Development Academy, I thought it was a great level to play at. When we moved, the only thing I told my parents is I'm down to go wherever, just make sure I can keep playing, because obviously I wanted to play at a high standard, at a certain culture, and I think Charlotte was the right place to do that. I love the idea of those tournaments and also playoffs. It was for the first time that I'm not just playing a single season where at the end of the day you see, do you move up, do you win the championship, do you potentially relegate or whatever, but there was more to it. And kind of throughout playing those tournaments, it was the first time that I really got to know the whole process of what happens after the academy, because all I knew from back home was you kind of fight to get into the U19s, you fight to get into the second team, and then whatever is after that is potentially pro level. But here was like, after the academy, what do you do? And when I got familiar with the whole process of college and combining school and playing at a high level and potentially going further. It was a great chance, and I remember you telling me about those showcases the first time, and I had no idea whatsoever. And a couple years later, I'm sitting here, my college coach next to me, and playing for a team like that. So I'd say as a German guy coming in, I've embraced the American soccer, and I'm loving it. So.
Well, what I will tell you, we went down and played Tony's groups, Atlanta United. It's always great for us to go down there and play. They were in our division, but we used to go down and lucky enough get some friendlies and extra time. And I remember, you coming down and playing down there and having a decent game. And Tony was, "Who's this lad?" Do you know what I mean? So, he's a German lad. We don't know if he's going to be here that long. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? At that point, do you know what I mean? So you were kind of setting yourself up. You get a lot of interest. Really, but before you left, and then obviously you had to go through the recruiting process. You wanted to come back to the States. You wanted to come back and play college, and it is a funny story because there were a lot of suitors out for you. There were some big guns around the college environment. Some top dogs around here. Clemson, obviously South Carolina, Charlotte. I know. Georgetown and some other schools, a lot of good schools, and it was by chance that I called Tony one day and he's in Germany. Mm-hmm. Tony's in Germany, and I said, what are you up to? I'm out here, we're looking for players as ever in the college environment now, Tony. You travel length and breadth of the world, all over the place to try and find players that want to come in to college. It's a big thing bringing internationals over. And I remember saying, remember Mika? So luck would have it. You managed to get connected. He was on a recruiting trip. Tell us about that relationship and how that went forward. I know, and this is from a recruitment standpoint, from an international player, for anybody that may be listening that is overseas, that want to come to America and play soccer. It's obviously a wonderful thing to do because of the facilities, and certainly in all the schools I mentioned, and certainly at the Gamecocks there, you have wonderful facilities, great environment, great infrastructure. How did that go down, and you blended with the relationship? It's always good to feel valued and have people, when you're overseas, I think, being around the country. Tell us from your perspective how that went down, and then I'll hand it over to Tony to give us his kind of scoop on that.
So I remember when you called me and you said that Tony would reach out to me while he's in Germany. I obviously haven't met Tony personally back then, but he offered me to come down, and we met at a restaurant, and I drove down there. We just talked football for probably 2 hours or so. I was convinced by his idea and style of playing football. I was convinced of the whole idea of going back to college. So from the first moment, it just clicked. It felt like a good fit. It felt like coming home for me too. And ever since I've been here, it's just it's a huge family there. I love the culture that we're building. I love the standard that Tony sets and demands from us. So what I've always wanted is play for a winning team, and if you have from the very first moment a coach that kind of kicks you in the behind and makes sure that you set those standards, it was just,
well, it's all about standards, right?
It was just
anywhere we look around the world, whatever you do, set the standards, set your goals, measurable goals at times. Don't set the ceiling too high. Take it step by step. Which is something that you've had to do, Tony. Obviously, with coming into a brand new program, you've had to kind of, in your way, take those step by steps. You've had to build, recruit. There's going to be some players that slip through the net that maybe you want. We all know that. There's a lot of college programs. There's a lot of different choices. You don't always get the players that you want. But obviously, in Mika, more than anything, what I know about him is it's his character, it's his personality. Tell us about that and how important that is for you, Tony, in building a brand new kind of squad.
Yeah, it's to be fair, it's probably more important than ability. I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Blank for a long time when I was in Atlanta, and his thing would always be 51% fit, 49% ability, because you can change ability, but you can't change fit. So, we came into the program, Mark had been there 43 years. He had done his way and his thing, which was great, and there was a lot of success. And I came in, I wanted to do it my way, and I wanted the players to be bought into our way of doing things, right? And you said that without discipline and standards, wave goodbye to success, which is a big quote from Alex Ferguson, right?
Yeah.
He set the standard, at his club, and he did it his way, and we're trying to do the same thing at our way. And it doesn't always go your way very quickly. Like, I've been frustrated that we haven't achieved some of the goals that we set early on, and we haven't achieved the standard that we wanted to early on. But we've made massive improvements, I think, in our way of doing things. And I think going over and finding Mika, with Mika, it was the instant fit. I know this kid fits what I want to do. I know the way he talks. I know his mannerisms. I met his family, which I knew where he came from, which was massively important to me. So
well, it's always a big thing that, you know, Alex Ferguson, Steve Highway, Liverpool, they would go and they would sit in the front room and meet the family.
Yeah.
If you look at the family, you know, the family of a good, solid stead, good morals.
Apples don't fall far from trees, right? And that's what they say. But as soon as I met the family, Mika drove 2.5 hours to meet me. Where did we watch a game?
It was Ulm.
Ulm.
Yeah.
Ulm played Fürth, yeah.
So I drove from Frankfurt.
There's a place in England called Hull.
Yeah, it's not the same. Kind of the same sort of setting, yes.
Yeah.
But he drove 2.5 hours. I drove from Frankfurt, and we met and we watched this game. We sat down, and I was going to watch a game of another player. And he says, you know what? I'll stay and I'll watch the game with you. And I knew right there and then that was my guy. Because, you know, and usually an 18 or 19-year-old wouldn't offer to stay and watch a third division game and chat football and continue to chat football. So when I left, I felt, this is the guy. I have got to get this guy into my team because this is the guy I want. Yeah. And that snowballed from there. And like you said, it fit really quickly. And you know, and you get that sense of, this is the guy for us, and that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, I mean, I think from listening to that and certainly knowing you, Tony, for over 20 years, we've had a great personal relationship, and knowing Mika, and even the two guys that we had on before, you know, Isaiah and Tyler, that have been lucky enough to do really well at Clemson. They said something in here when they're in here. It's the love of the game. Mm-hmm. You know, how we love it, you know. It is a religion to us. We love the game, so you'll watch it wherever it is. You'll talk about it. You'll get up after an injury. You'll get back up after a setback. You'll keep going and going and going. And I think the love of the game, that is obviously what I'm seeing here. Is it's very apparent that's the kind of people that you want. Is they've got to. I always say to the place, you got to know the game to play the game.
Yeah.
So it's that inherent love, watching games that just transform from that into the way they play.
And look, he could have jumped ship after this first season that he was here and said, you know what, we only won 6 games, we tied 4 games, but we didn't have a winning season, right? He could have jumped ship and said, this is not for me, I could have went to here, I could have went there, because a few players did, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm with you, ride or die, right? So we have this relationship where I can rely on him, which is why he's my captain, but also I've had major setbacks in this project over 3 seasons that I've had to say, I will get there, but I've got to do it a little bit slower. I've got to take my time. I've got to build it. I wanted to come in and I wanted to wave my magic wand and I wanted to get it done.
Yeah.
That's who I am. But I've realised that it's college soccer is a different beast and you've got to attack it a different way. So with people like him, and look, there's American kids that are in the same boat that I've recruited and I've done the same things, and we've got some great American lads as well. It's not just an international player, right? So we've got, I think relationships are massively important.
Yeah, how much do you value that? Because, you know, the management of the squad, and this is a 2-part for both you, Tony, and Mika, from different perspectives, obviously. You come in, college soccer, when they usually come to you, they've been on an 18-man roster, maybe 20-man roster, always playing, always getting some minutes. That's the youth model. They come into a 30-man squad. How do you make essentially one of your top performers and a new player coming in feel valued? Because I think that's a big thing with everybody today, is everybody wants to feel valued for something, which is absolutely fine, and that should be. But it's not an easy task to have, 30 meetings, conversations every day with with players, how you doing? They always say, the 30-second meeting is one of the best things you could do as a coach. Whether it be walking onto the field, hey, how you doing? How's mum and dad? Everything okay? Let us know. How, in doing that, does that, if that's important, how does that breed culture once people know they're valued moving forward?
I think I've got a two-part answer to that. The first part is, in my younger days as a coach, and I've been at it 30 years like you have, in my younger days as a coach, I didn't think that relationships with players were as important as they really, really are. So if you're a young coach and you're listening to this, my thing now at 50 years old I would say, get to know your players, get on their level, show them that they're valued, show them some love, put your arm around them. That is going to get you that 10% extra on game day that you never thought you could get. And I think that part, for me, has been a massive evolution in my career, where I was a lot of strictly business.
Yeah.
Now I think you'll have to ask a player. I think I have the blend, right? I think. And I'm still working at it, right? I'm still getting better.
It's an ever ongoing process, because so many things can throw you off.
Absolutely.
With player situations.
But the flip side of that is what you talked about, the superstar coming from Charlotte Soccer Academy or Atlanta United, or the guy who's been the man. You have to realise this is a huge jump. This isn't just a step. And college soccer gets played down a little bit because of the quality sometimes, or the tactics, or it's a short season. There's a lot of negativity can be spouted about college soccer. But when you get there, if you think it's going to be easy, or if you think you're going to walk from an ECNL or a MLS Next team into this team and do what you were doing, you are sadly mistaken. There is a massive jump here.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes a player a year or two. But my thing is, can I get close to that player? Can I bring him in? Can he trust me? Can I trust him? Can we form a relationship so that when the time is right, we get the best out of you, right? And that's kind of how I would answer that in two parts.
Yeah.
I think that's what Tony just said about coming in and you're always the main guy, and now it's a huge step. That's like part of maturing for me personally.
Yeah.
Because what you have to prove is, are you willing to come in and put in the work, potentially even more work, because you're a young guy, less experience? Can you prove to everyone in the locker room, including staff and all the people that are around the soccer team, that you are willing to do everything you can to help people out? And if the team sees that from day one, you're not going to be just going to be valued by coaches or the guy that brought you in or whatever, but even teammates will value you. Because what I've learned in my first season in college, I always say it's almost like a different sport, because playing one season in half a year is something that I've never experienced before, and it's very tough on your body, and you really need everybody in your team. Even if you don't play a lot, you need those guys to be the ones pushing you in practice, or the ones that are coming in minute 80 when games are won in the last 10 minutes. And I think personally that coming in and just like embracing that experience will get you where you need to be, and will also get you to build relationships that you've go through whatever during the season.
Well, I think coming in, if you're a captain now and you have that locker room, and there are players that are coming in, and you could read people's body language, that if they're not, picked for a particular trip, they're coming in. It is a process, and if they can see the captain, the coach, and then that spreads around the locker room. Isaiah was in here on the last podcast, and he said with some times that he had is like, don't think of that long term. Just win every day. Do something to win today. And that may not be on the field. It may not be playing. It may be someone else. Do something good for someone else. It may be, look for other avenues to and keep that. We all talk about growth mindset and everything, but just keep that open-mindedness that it will get better. But if you're supported, and if you're in an environment where they have a good locker room and a good culture, and the academics, and there are standards, and there are expectations, and there are goals, and everybody's led accountable, and there's a schedule, and it's fixed, people like to be pushed in those environments, and you'll get more out of them, right? Talking about college soccer, you said there, people, maybe some negativity about college soccer. Me and you, Tony, have been doing this a long, long time. You've been in the professional ranks with pro academies, where you are trying to present and get a small percentage to go and play for the first team. college soccer, though, mate, it's improved. It has improved over the years, and you've watched a lot. You're involved in it now. You've played in the conference you're in. It is a really strong conference. I've watched 2 or 3 games the last season when you were there before, earlier season, watching these games. I've watched there. There's some really good soccer being played in college now, mate.
There is.
Yeah,
it's a great standard of football. It is, and I think the people who are naysayers or the people who want to bash it or want to sort of give it a negative connotation are the guys who don't watch it. They just say it. Yeah. It's just, that's what they think because that's what they want to say. But if they actually watch, there are some unbelievable coaches in college soccer. There's some fantastic talent in college soccer. It is by far the most organised and competitive amateur league in the world. By far. By far. An amateur league, it's amateur players.
Right.
College soccer is by far the most organised, the most structured, and the most competitive that I've seen in my travels all over the world, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's like the jump into college soccer for a youth kid, 18, is massive.
Yeah.
Now you've got an easy way out, though, which brings you to another subject, but which we'll probably get to, I guess, down the line.
Which is
the transfer portal.
The portal. Yeah, we'll hold on the portal just for a minute because that is a massive thing now. I'm led to believe that it could be 2,000, 3,000 players on that portal that want to leave, want to transfer, get out of the current situation. But we'll hold on that. What I want to talk now about is style of play, principles. How hard is it if you want to play a certain way and you have a game model and you're in a short season, really, probably have 18, possibly 20 games, 24 if you go all the way, is winning, producing your style of play, how you want to imprint it, and having several plan B if needed. How do you feel you've adapted to that? And how hard is it? Because I've seen your team play, and I think you do stick to your principles, which I think for anybody that loves the game, you have an idea of how it's played, whether it be played, a possession-based game with build-up, played through all the 3 thirds, whether it be missing the middle out, played in the final third, maybe it be direct passing, maybe there's all different ways to play, right? And there's a goal at one end, there's a goal at the other, and the person who puts the ball in that end more than the other one wins the game. You get your points. You can go on and win trophies like that. How important to you as a coach and as an educator of young players? Because remember, they're going to graduate from you guys, and they may go on to play professional, where style of play, blueprints, game models are very, very much an onus on each club. How much is it to you to stick to your principles, and what tempts you to go away from them if you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a tough question, right?
Yeah.
But again, if we're talking as an experienced coach, I think, let's say we were talking to a bunch of young coaches. If you do not have a philosophy, if you do not have a thought of how you want to play the game, and if you do not stick to that, then you're kind of cheating yourself as a coach. You need that, right?
Yeah.
You need that philosophy. You need that methodology. You need to implement your style of play as best you can with the group that you have. And it doesn't always come easily. It doesn't come quickly. In college soccer, if you get in the run of 2 or 3 games where it doesn't come off, you can get in the run of 6 games where it doesn't come off, and you're almost a third of the way through the season. So you don't have the ebbs and flows of a professional season or a youth season where it's 10 months or 11 months. You don't have those ebbs and flows where you can get yourself out of it and work out of it and keep working at it. It's either you're in it or you're in another one.
Yeah.
There's no, So I think for me, it's important that I stick to my principles and my philosophy of how I want the game to be played, right? And hopefully my players are 100% bought into that and believe in that, not just understand that, but actually believe in it, because that's how you get the most out of them. But I've got respect for anybody who wants to play direct football.
Anyway,
I've got respect for anybody. I don't question that. But I have to think about how I want my team to play, how I want to set them up. What have I learned is that I have to be adaptable. I have to be flexible. But what I won't do is abandon my principles, abandon my philosophy of how football I want football to be played, in order to just win games that way. Right? And there are coaches that will say, you know what, I'm in my third, fourth season, and I may lose my job here if I don't start winning games. And they may abandon what they are. But I think if you abandon that, then you've abandoned everything you've ever worked for.
Yeah.
I have a game model that's 12 years old, a document that's been in process for 12 years. Because that's when I started doing the game model, right? 12 years ago. I can't abandon all the work I've put into that to say we're going to win 16 games this year. And people will disagree with me and say you're crazy, because you'll lose your job eventually if you don't start winning. But that's my decision, not theirs, right? So you've seen my team play. He obviously plays in my team.
Well, but the question I would ask Mika is now how important you as a player coming into style of play, game model, how you want to play the game. You are, predominantly a box-to-box midfielder that can do most of everything you need to do, whether it be play longer balls, short balls, connect, combine, playing combinations, lots of rotation. That's within your DNA. That's obviously why you are suited. I think looking at this, we know why you're suited to each other, or that this player is suited to your style. How much of that style do you enjoy playing, and how do you keep on track with that as a captain now going to lead the team?
Yeah, I think part of Tony's recruiting process was making sure that I'm part of his philosophy and I stand by it. And from, like you said, from the very first moment, that was it. And I think it's important that bringing guys in, you have to know from the very first moment, is he willing to be a part of the team, or does he want to succeed for himself? And if you're part of that team, you automatically buy in on whatever philosophy the coach has. And at the end of the day, if you work on it throughout the spring, throughout preseason, there's no other choice than really embracing it. And at the end of the day, obviously, it comes down to the players on the field to find a way to win. Maybe sometimes you have to be more flexible. Maybe sometimes play out of position, or make certain adjustments. But we do have a philosophy. We all stand by it. But we're also mature enough at this point that at the end of the day, you want to win, and you don't just want to play pretty and be happy with your performance and lose. So at the end of the day, whatever adjustments it needs, we all work together to figure that out, and then get results.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask now the question that comes from, hey, there's a lot of players, young youth players, that you must get your staff to email after email, video after video from domestic players here in Charlotte, Columbia, the Carolinas, across the whole country. They want to come and become a Gamecock. They want to come and play. They want to write to you, come and watch me play. They may well listen to this. You don't, you get thousands and thousands of emails. So tough to respond and tell someone. But maybe if someone listens to this and a message is, you go into a showcase, you go to watch players, you're watching video. The main traits you're looking for with the University of South Carolina are looking for players. What do players got to have?
It's another good question. First and foremost, they've got to have a work rate. It's the modern game, right? You cannot have a mediocre work rate and think you're going to be successful.
Whether you're playing up front or
doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you are. Body language tells us a lot. Your attitude towards teammates tells a lot. How you carry yourself, how you approach the game tells us a lot. We're looking at that as well. I have a very specific profile for positions. So even though you are a top right back, you might not be my top right back.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's always that.
So the game model and the style of play will come into that.
It's all connected.
Yep.
Right? But I think above all, the work rate, the body language, the attitude, the X factors that are not always to do with the ball are really, really important. And I think that's where a lot of players
so
may
much
get
could
missed.
be told of a player, his actions when he doesn't have the ball.
Absolutely.
When you're out of possession, when you've just lost the ball. I mean, the key elements are when is transition, right? When you lose it and you've got to get it back, or when you've had it and you lose it. So whichever way it is, it's those 4 or 5 seconds.
It doesn't matter what style of play you
No.
play. Transition is in everything we do now. It's the modern game. So You could be in a direct team who plays over the top from the back. Transition's still in that, and if you can't transition with a positive work rate or a positive outlook on it, you're probably going to struggle. You know.
We talk about decision making all the time through all of our teams, players. Decision making. There's a lot of players that can control a ball, pass a ball, juggle a ball, have good balance. All of the things from a technical standpoint, right? But the one thing we always say is, can you make the right decisions 90% of the time? Whether it be a one-touch pass, a layoff, a two-touch, playing a ball in behind a player. The small differences by leading a player with a pass where his first touch is forward, where it's not too close to the defender. All these kind of things. A lot of really, really good players out there with decision-making and the effectiveness of what they do in those positions. We say that's big. Your agreement there, right?
It's huge. If you want to play in a team that plays football, that, there's a lot of rotation and combination play, then you've got to be able to make those decisions and time the decision right and play the decision in the right way. I think, again, you could be a really pretty on the eye player, but do you break pressure with the pass? Can you break pressure? Or do you invite pressure again to your teammate because you took too long?
Yeah.
Like, those are the things we look at. Like, you can be really pretty on the eye. Wow, look at his technique, look at his balance, look at it. But do you invite pressure to your teammate? Do you break pressure with your passes? Those are decision making things that can change games, right? So tight spaces. How are you in tight spaces, right? But not only in tight spaces, how are you when you've got time? Do you hold it and hold it and hold it because you have the time, or do you break pressure with a pass? Those are decisions
the ball can run faster than anybody.
Absolutely.
So if you can pass it, and distance of passes and effectiveness of, it really is a complex game when you watch it. But sometimes simplicity is just genius.
Yeah. And look, I stood with a guy at a showcase a few months back, and look at him! What a player! What a great player! And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, he looks great, but he never breaks pressure with a pass, and every pass he makes puts his other teammate under pressure. Yeah. For me, that was not what I wanted, right? And he's loving it because he's such a technical, good-looking player, and that's the difference in coaches. I mean, you all see the game in a different way.
Yeah, the way you receive the ball, body positioning, look forward, check your shot, all the kind of idiosyncrasies that come with it that can make players. So, freshmen coming in is a big thing now. We're seeing that not as many players out of our in the youth ranks, and maybe I think this is across the board, a smaller percentage of maybe players right now committed to colleges than they were 2 years ago, certainly before COVID. COVID has come in, give everybody an extra year. Also now we're going to bring it up, the transfer portal. So now, internationally you can get players that come over. And Mika, to his credit, 2003 birth year, but a freshman this year. So has a couple of year advantage in age maturity than a 205 that came in this year. Then the transfer portal. A lot of players transferred in and out. The whole thing with players, freshmen coming in, you view it. I'm speaking now. I think it's a process. You have to look at it as a 4-year process and a 4-year deal. It's an apprenticeship to then get where you want to be. The portal is good for some players, and some players, it could be good if you've exhausted all avenues. And some things just don't mesh, and it's great for moving on. The other time is it an easy way out? Every situation's different. We know that. It must be causing coaches some anxiety, because now I think you used to have to go into the office, chat the door. Hey, you know what, boss? Coach. I'm kind of thinking it was a one-on-one thing. It was straight up. I believe now you can go to the portal, put your name on it, and your admissions people will tell you that so and so's on the portal. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I'm not in college. I think standing up, looking someone in the eye and communicating about it is probably the best way to go. But it's a little easy now. And you guys, you can be blindsided. Come in, and it could really be really advantageous for you guys bringing in players that are want to move from somewhere else, but it could also be a detriment to losing players and being blindsided. I don't want to dig too deep in this because it's can be controversial.
Well, it's also opinions of each coach has their own opinion on the portal, right? There are coaches that are building their whole roster off the portal, by the way. So, they're all going for that guy who's got 1 year or 2 years left and having a very, very mature team. Again, that's their way of doing things, their opinion. But I think the portal has...
And the rules allow that, so there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
If that's their philosophy.
And you know what? It's been pretty successful.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say it's not been successful because the guys who've done it have done pretty well with it.
Yeah.
I think
From our standpoint, with the youth game, we want our players to go into colleges. We want, and it's fine. It's a little bit tougher now, so they have to maybe take a different avenue. Whether they certainly go in redshirt, which is not a bad thing to do. Certainly, as you say, go in it maybe a semester ahead, go in the spring, graduate a little earlier, go in and do a bit of an apprenticeship that way, or maybe do a gap year program or a junior college program, or do something like that where maybe they get a little bit more experience within that game. I know within our club we've got into the UPSL, so we play that in the spring because we feel that could be a bridge in towards getting players into adult soccer, more aggressive soccer, the physicality side of it. Advice to these freshmen that are seniors in high school, going to be freshmen. Advice to them that because they could be a bit down, a bit bewildered. Oh, I've not got the looks. I've not got the kind of communication or offers that maybe I thought I might have had.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is probably the toughest time to be a freshman coming in. We tend to bring in quite a few freshmen because that's, again, our opinion and our philosophy of what we want to do. The portal has, I think, stopped the whole team element a little bit. It's derailed that because building a team over 4 years is probably not going to happen very often anymore.
Right.
Because of the portal. Number one, guys who don't get their own way or guys who faced adversity and didn't like it and didn't handle it very well can go, you know what, I'm out of here. Right? Number one. Number two, the guys in the portal coming in have experience. They've been through adversity. They've been in a college system already. So there's an advantage to that as well. So the the senior in high school is now looking at those two things ahead of them. But I would say, if I had to give them advice, is if you can get in and play, great. We had two freshmen come in this year, Jonah and Jordan, who I didn't expect them to play 50%. They played almost 100% because we needed them to because of injuries. Yeah. But they did so well. They did really well. And now they've got that experience going into the next season where a lot of freshmen go in and sit and wait, right?
Yeah.
So I think being realistic about where you can play is a big thing. Like, maybe you start at a smaller school and then you can transfer to a bigger school, right? Maybe you do take a gap year and play with men and be physically a little bit ahead, a bit more ready to go into college soccer. But I still think there's a lot of opportunity for seniors going into their freshman year straight away if, like we talked about, their profile fits the program.
Yeah. Mika, have just finished your freshman year. You're going to be a sophomore. For freshmen coming in, or any international players that have moved across into the US to come into this environment, you've done the freshman thing, so you've been through it. What advice would you give to freshmen coming into college?
So I chose the path of doing a little gap year. I had 6 months after my graduation before I came in, and then obviously the spring season before the fall started. So it kind of gave me 1 year. So I fit into the example, like you said, not the classic senior who was a rising freshman, go straight into college. But what I would say, even though I was an 03 playing my freshman season, I've also been through that, sitting on the bench, being frustrated back home in Germany, playing for a second team. As soon as you have a pro coming down after injury, you practice great, you felt like you were going to start. Last minute, you get kicked to the bench and you're obviously frustrated. My advice would just be that don't see any time as wasted time, but just appreciate any sort of experience you get, even if that means being frustrated for a while. Just keep working and kind of try and learn of others. And if you get through those times where it gets really tough and you push through and you don't give up, then it's going to feel even sweeter when you start, playing. There has to be one game where they need a certain trait that you have. There has to be one injury and you need to step up. Just make sure that you are ready for that moment when it comes. And until then, just focus on your game, work on the simple things, be great at the simple things.
And how do you feel, say, for freshmen coming in that maybe you haven't experienced this, but I'm thinking in the classroom is very important as well. And obviously, if you're on top of the world and you're playing, the classroom is going to be a lot more easier than it is when maybe you haven't been playing, you've not travelled away from home on a trip, but you know what, you've still got to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and walk across campus to get in and do your education. Education is vital, that no matter what happens on the field, that is very important within the school, because if your GPA drops and those kind of things, there could be consequences. How much support do you get within the school from your coaching staff and academic advisors and those kind of things to keep that fire alive in the classroom?
I mean, the resources are all there. The important thing is that you use it and you make sure that you realize that one thing comes with the other. If you want to play, if you want to be with the team and travel around the country playing games, then you also have to make sure you keep your grades up high. But there's academic advisors, there's study halls, there's all sorts of people that will make sure anything you need is provided, so that in those 90 minutes that you want to play, you can perform and will be able to play in the first place. So college, when it comes to that, is
and then a freshman coming in, a big school, South Carolina, fantastic football program, big school. There's got to be some other temptations out there from majority of the people that go to the school are not athletes. Majority of the people that go to school are enjoying themselves in one way, shape, or another. How do you're dedicated? Some people might be led down the garden path a bit. If there's some extracurricular activity going on one night that maybe you slip out to and enjoy the scenery, enjoy some kind of things that are going on. How dedicated you got to be to getting your rest and nutrition and everything else that goes along with that? Because you'll get found out if maybe you haven't been in bed as early as you should have been, right?
To be honest, you could offer me any party anywhere in the world. I'll give you one example. We had a conference game at home, ODU, 5 seconds left, score a free kick, win that game. That feeling and that moment and the vibes in that locker room, go to any party in the world, you can't feel that anywhere else. So
as long as Will Griggs is on fire, right?
If you're willing to if you're willing to if like talking about love of the game, if you love the game, you can, be mature enough to say, you know what, I'll get my sleep, get up in the morning, get my workout done, go to practice, be a pro, even though this is just an amateur league. But the 90 minutes that you play, the wins, even the losses, like just the experience of being together with your team, which is your family, kind of like, and
well, it is, especially you're 4 years in it. Hopefully as many players could stay in the squad and play all the way through it. Tony played collegiate soccer out here, Lindsay Wilson and Life University. I came out a little later in life, but the bond you can get from this sport, we do love it. We love it. We breathe it. We watch it. It can kick you in the teeth, and you get back up and you keep going, and it can give you absolute great elation from winning or even just playing really well, or seeing from coach's perspective that game model, that kind of thing you've been working on coming off. With that said, it is a wonderful sport. So the friendships you make, they're just vital. It's so good to have these friends, and they'll last a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
We know that, Tony.
I still speak to guys that I played with in '84.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still in touch with them now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how sport connects you, but it also prepares you for life.
Yeah. You learn so many lessons out of it.
We're sitting here talking about football, but the adversity and the issues and the problems you're going to face within a football season also happen in real life.
Yeah.
You've got to deal with loss, you've got to deal with divorce, you've got to deal with all these things. And I think the field prepares you for that. We've all been through trauma at some point in our life, but being an athlete, facing adversity, getting over it and realizing that you can get over it also prepares you for life, which is my job, is to prepare him as a footballer and develop him as a footballer, but I have to prepare him for life outside of football, because football doesn't last forever, as we know, right? I'd love to still play, but if he leaves my program 5% better than he came into it as a human, I've done a very good job. And that is our goal, right? Is to bring guys in, develop them, form that bond, form that team, and also prepare them for life.
Well, and we've done our very first podcast with Doug Allison, as we both know real well. We're lucky after Clint Dempsey on ex-Furman and Graham Seagraves, and they speak about, the Furman as family. And how now they go back to alumni games and those kind of things and bring their kids, and their kids are involved and their family, and then they reminisce, whether it were coaches and players, that it just is, it gives us that joy, and it really is. It's life lessons that you can take on wherever you go in the world. So ambitions for you after college soccer, Mika?
I mean, I love the game, so if there's any chance to keep playing at the next level, then obviously I would love to take that. But one thing I've learned throughout the last year is that I've just gotten to college. I'm a freshman now. I'm getting my education done, and for now my focus is 100% of getting this program where it's supposed to be, getting together with the guys, with the family, like you said, and winning games and achieving things here. Because I think if you go to college, you embrace the chance that you have there, whatever comes after will come after, and you will get all the chances in the world. But for now, my ambition is obviously to play soccer for as long as possible.
Absolutely. I think we might have a good coach in the making in several years here.
Absolutely.
Don't you think? With knowledge and everything.
100%.
So another ambition is that I sit on that part of the table.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, this is just something we've been flowing with. I feel passionate about the sport and everything. I've seen a lot of players, as Tony has seen over the years, that have gone on, graduated, played professionally in the MLS, national teams. Because we love it so much, I just felt that something like this was maybe needed in the marketplace, where we could offer information for families, players, maybe get them through the tough spots, explain the process a little bit more, because everybody wants to put that verbally committed on their Instagram. I'm blessed. I'm verbally committed to University of South Carolina, Clemson, University of Asheville. I know my son plays at Asheville, was excited, over the moon when he got that commitment. So this was about, how do we get more of those players verbally committed, understand soccer a little bit, and hopefully this could be a good avenue for information for them to do that. Tony, so where's college soccer going to be in the last 10 years as we wrap it up in a couple of things with NIL deals coming in, sponsorship, those kind of things?
It's unknown, to be honest. I think there's going to be a lot of change in the next probably 5 years with the portal, NIL, like you spoke about, and people getting money on top of their scholarship, which is going to change the game altogether. Obviously, football, basketball has been affected by it already, but I think soccer, it's coming. In fact, it's here, right? I deal with it on a regular basis now, that it's people are asking about NIL, and schools are giving NIL. It's the guys that have got it are giving it. So that's going to change a lot of it. Obviously, we talked about the portal and how that's changed it a lot. But again, I think to your statement earlier, the level is very good. The competitiveness and in the divisions and in the conferences is very good. And I think it's not going anywhere. It's not going to fall apart. Will we get the 10-month season, the 8-month season?
That would be beneficial.
I think so. I think it'll be good.
You'd like it, Mika, obviously, as well.
I think every player would. I think there was a survey done where
I think every coach would, right? Because one of the biggest things that coaches say, I just don't get enough time on the field.
Some coaches, some wouldn't.
Some,
no, I think I think that would be great, because it would be probably one of the best jobs out there if you could have that ebb and flow to the season and work for longer and work with your team, and it's not a sprint. Mentally, it would be better for the players. Physically, it would be better for the players.
Well, and also you pick up an ankle injury 2 weeks in, you're out for 6 weeks. Season's
Academically,
done.
It would be better for the players, because they'd have more time to study. And I think it would be the best thing for it. I just don't know if it's going to happen. We just don't know that. It's been kind of off and on for the last probably 10 years. But I think players coming in just have to understand that, I've said it once, I've said it twice, I think good sailors are not made on smooth seas, and it's not going to be smooth.
Yeah.
and it's not going to be easy. And you need to understand that coming in. But I think if you can get past those things, you could be really successful.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The season is a sprint.
Yeah.
But the process,
is a marathon.
Yeah.
So take your time. Listen, we're going to wrap up. I do thank you both of you for coming in as we're kicking into the spring season. Great to have a little combination of coach, captain, program. We can get hopefully a different perspective on things. But we'll start with you, Mika. Advice to any incoming player coming into any college program from the experiences you've had. Advice after being verbally committed and signing their letter of intent coming in. Advice to an incoming player into your environment.
For me personally, once, like you said, you post that picture and you say verbally committed, be proud, enjoy the moment with your family. You've worked very hard for it, but also be sure that you wake up the next morning and that's when the real work starts. Be sure that you embrace the work, and no matter what you do, it will never be just upwards. There's going to be ups and downs, but you got to realize that especially the downs is where you learn the most. And other than that, just like Tony said, work rate is very important. Also, don't try and do too much, though. Find a good balance between getting your school done, taking time for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't push yourself too hard. And make sure that once you get to college, make sure you're ready to play and you're in the best shape of your life when the season starts.
Because fitness at the beginning of the season can be rather traumatic if you're not, right?
Yeah, I myself experienced that. If you get injured towards the end of the season, it's very frustrating. So be in shape when it's most needed and just enjoy the experience, whether it starts off with a bang and you start as you're a starter right away or not. Just enjoy the learning process and have fun and love the game.
Well, I think because if coaches see that you are dedicated, work hard, and you graft, and you're a good team player, good team person in the locker room, support everybody, they'll give you a chance.
Yeah.
Your day will come.
Because you need players like that. That's why there's no chance that a coach looks at you and says you won't get any chance at all. So
absolutely. Tony, finish us off. A lot of years experience, as you know. Your advice.
To be fair, Mika kind of covered a lot of it there.
Yeah, you told him that on the way up in the car,
I did
right?
not. This is why he's my captain, because he
Yeah.
thinks that way,
Yeah.
But I'll take a different tact, and I'll say once you verbally commit and you post a picture, that is the start of it. It's not the end of it. It's not the mountaintop. That's the beginning, right? And I think everything Mika said there is correct. I will say, once you do get there, you're going to face adversity. You're going to face distractions. You're going to face temptations, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about standards and discipline. If you're coming into our program, we run it like a pro team. That's how we run the program. Standards, discipline, accountability. And that's not easy when you don't come from an environment like that, which there are very few.
Yeah.
So I'd expect bumpy roads coming in, expect turbulence. But you've got to get on with it, and you've got to get over it, and you've got to really, really push through and not take the easy way out.
Yeah.
Because in the long run, you'll be better off, right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure every coach wants a player that can deal with adversity. Every coach wants a player that can push through the tough times. And it's not easy.
And that support comes from home, mum and dad. I know
coach.
Tyler was in, and the coach Tyler was in before, and he said, at times in his season where it's pretty dark down there,
absolutely.
and he would call home, but his family would say, "Hey, tomorrow's another day." It passes. That 2 hours of frustration where you've not been picked, and you want to tear the pictures off the wall and everything.
Yeah.
It does pass, and it does get better, and it clears, and the skies are blue as you come out the other end, right?
Yeah. I've got a sign on my wall when I bring the guys in the office, and it says, "Don't expect to get results with the work you didn't do."
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right? And again, things are going to be tough. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah. Guys, thanks for coming in. Wish you all the best in the spring season and the fall season coming up. Congratulations on getting the armband, Skip.
Thank you.
I believe that you'll have a great season. I know you from old, and the one thing that you have is tremendous work ethic. Has been also has been a very, very talented football player, soccer player. Tony, I wish you all the best at Gamecocks. I followed you down there, obviously, since you've been down not too far from us here. So we wish that, as do I, with all of the coaches in the collegiate arena that we put players to. We want all our boys to do well, and we want all incoming American freshmen coming in out of high school to be successful in their journey. And really, with Verbally Committed here, again, we like to share some of our experiences from players, coaches, and hopefully we can aid in that process or set the expectations or give some information on what is expected when they make that jump into the collegiate arena. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having us.
Thanks.
There we go.